Welcome back, everybody. I am joined by Chris Bolton, who is our Center of Excellence in Panama, and welcome to 2022. This is our update video for the first one of this year. So Chris, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, always, Colleen, always. And glad to be hitting the ground running with you this year, of course.
Now, we closed out 2021 with a lot of activity as well, so I thought we could actually start this video by talking a little bit about what we accomplished at the end of the year.
Right. Well, given the limited time, we can't summarize the whole year accurately, but there was one thread that I really wanted to pull on for this video that was so important to end the year. And that was, keep in mind that when we started and reopened the Center of Excellence, we were in our habitats using version 1.0 for Sprout AI units. That was aeroponic units. And that goes back to our original concept and design that was in early 2017 and then into fruition 2018. So with all that under our belt, by the end of March of last year, the R&D team set out in earnest to make a better unit, and we did. And of course, that became the foundation for our new patent that was filed in December of last year through all the countries that were anticipating the sale of Sprout, and you'll see that in our press releases. But more importantly, we advanced the science, both for plant and root. Our new version 2 is a fog-ponic unit, which is different from aeroponic. Now, the reason I'm pulling that thread and why it was so important is the industry as a whole is growing very fast to the point that it's outpaced perhaps the knowledge base of the common investor. And so it's important that we saw two major papers come out at the end of the year that could help educate or at least provide more color, both on the segmentation that's forming within the industry and perhaps even more importantly, where do we fit? And how are we doing, right? So there's a white paper for our segment of indoor vertical cultivation showing all of the segmentation in ours, including fog-ponic. And the second is an independent third-party paper that then ranked us against a handful of these competitors within those verticals to show where we sit, not just this year, but based on what we're doing, where we would sit 5 years from now, even out to 10 years. So I felt that that was very important to bring up today because that was a great way to end the year. We worked so hard. It was a fast sprint and so much was accomplished last year. But for us to come up with not just a new technology was patented, but get it into the hands of the industry for review, I thought was really, really important.
Absolutely. And for our investors, anyone who hasn't already, you can visit our website and under the media and resources section, you can download a copy of the white paper for yourself. And then on all of our social platforms, you will have actually already seen us highlighting some of the snippets from that third-party research report and talking about how we are ranking against our competitors. So make sure that you continue to stay tuned. We're going to continue to also highlight different parts and charts from that report. So another question that our investors have been asking about in lieu of 2022 starting is, how has COVID affected us? So I thought you could tell us a little bit about what's going on over at the Center of Excellence.
Yeah, fair enough. So globally, how has it not affected any of us? Unless you're off on a desert island by yourself, I doubt very much. And assuming that you don't have to worry about a courier delivery, I'm sure you're doing okay. Everyone else has been impacted, either directly or indirectly. There's no question about it. Here at the COE, of course, strict protocol as always. I'm in my bubble. And I do have my TheraCan air on the floor, as do the other offices that are circulating this room of air roughly every 20-25 minutes and capturing and destroying virus to 99.9% plus. And we're doing that throughout the facility. But the protocols also had to be stepped up. We've increased our size. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're forever adding more employees. More employees increase the risk of bringing COVID into the office. And more importantly, once it's here, how is it managed? We opened with a quick start. On the third day of January, we had staff in the office and one tested positive, which sent other people home. And so we learned from that. Now everyone is better social distance. We have to keep them apart physically for 15 minutes together, no more than that, within 2 meters breadth. And then, of course, make sure that each of the departments is able to function quite adequately in the event of someone having to return home for 10 days or more until they're retested. So, yep. We've taken that to heart and put it in play. The other flip of it, of course, is a more important issue of supply chain for a manufacturing company like our own, being able to swing with the punches. We did a lot of stories on this last year. That was a full year in planning to get ahead of it, and we anticipated it would get worse before it got better, and it got worse. We definitely saw it get a lot worse, and anyone claiming they haven't been impacted by a supply chain is either lying or I'd love to talk to them to see how they did it better. But from our perspective, being able to get multiple vendors, multiple couriers, try to get ahead of our orders is one thing. But there are still matters completely out of our control, such as getting items through duty, the duty customs office. Sometimes they go fast, sometimes they get stuck or they don't move. There's a fair degree of unpredictability there that we are working to manage by either getting duplicate shipments, shipping multiple shipments, not just one shipment. So if one arrives, at least you can work on it while the other one's still pending, and so on and so forth. So we continue to adapt. As we said last year, one of our biggest lessons was learning how to be resilient, and more importantly, how to swing the punches. Not easy. And I'm not saying we've got it all covered, but I will say that we're doing better than most because we've taken a lot of time to figure this out. Yeah.
Well, I know that you guys started actually tackling that problem a very long time ago, really, when the pandemic started. I know you foresaw that being a potential issue. So kudos to you and the team for being able to do that and have the foresight to begin prepping for mitigating that risk. So continuing on with the trend of investor questions, one of the things that many investors have also started off 2022 asking is, what are our plans and what steps are we taking to be able to regain our ground on the market, as well as grow the business and secure its financial structure? So I thought that we could talk about some of the steps that we are doing behind the scenes. Obviously, as a company, we are limited with what we can be public. We are limited with what we can announce and discuss until it is actually publicly released. But I thought we could talk about the background steps that we are doing to ensure that the company's health and safety and financial well-being are a prime target for us this year.
Yeah, absolutely, Colleen. And let's agree. There's no magic here. A company that's in assembly and manufacturing has to have sales and it has to have deliveries. Sales, deliveries. Now, in our model, we outsource our sales to our distributors. Why? Because they have boots on the ground in the markets that we're going after. They help us get very tactical sales. We're promising, again, to commit to get on 4 continents before the end of the year. We're well on that way. But the point being is they're the ones that find the opportunities, they qualify them, they make them go through a process, which I understand you'll have a video on next week with them to better educate our investor pool on how that works. But once those come into us as POs, then we have to deliver. And in order for us to deliver, we promised, as we did in Q3, Q4, to begin ramping up our assembly line in earnest, not just getting the components, but getting the people to assemble those components into the units themselves and out the door. So for that purpose, we've done well. In the last 3 months, we've added 13 individuals to our organization for that purpose. That pops us over 30 now. And again, I won't spoil it because I'm sure you'll do an interview with our HR division. But with that said, that brought on 7 individuals since the commencement of this year already that are going directly into assembly as we amassed more components and tools. The other thing that we looked at was now that we're working through the better onboarding process to do a rapid pace for bringing new resources on in case they pop out for COVID, being able to bring another one and have them in an assembly line to do a high quality product that obviously has to go through a lot of QA, QC and traceability, make sure all that's put together properly was one thing, but be able to do it that will also be able to handle multiple shift was quite another. And so being able to line us up so that we can get prepared for multi-shift if we get the big bubble of an order, and then it may slow down or may level off, and then another big bubble. Being able to manage those flows in a reasonable period of time is how we start 2022, and I'm excited we're at that point, right? We dealt with the technology, we dealt with the patent, we dealt with opening new markets. Now it's down to the issue of just straight out delivery.
Absolutely. So yeah, next week we are going to be highlighting the new hires under the parent company who are the new sales agents to bring in more opportunities, and then also be showing more of that assembly section, because it is very important with our first actual order that is going to be going out sometime between the end of Q1, beginning of Q3. So Ivory Medical. So maybe we could do just a brief update, because we are going to be highlighting them next week as well with more updates on the actual project status. But maybe you can just tell us a little bit about where they're at currently.
Yeah, absolutely. So Therachan Australia, of course, is managing that particular project. They issued the PO to us to start fulfilling that order for that project. The major milestone that was met at the beginning of this year was getting the 2 primary shipments in that are starting the final assembly process of the building. Okay, so that's a prefabricated structure that was designed by Allied Building Steel in Spain, in Madrid, and then boated down on time, on spec to the port of Durban, South Africa. They're off the boat. One of the 2 shipments has made it over the border into Zimbabwe and is being delivered to site next week. So with that said, I know the Allied Building team see this as a very much showcase project on that hemisphere. And I also understand, and maybe you could share more, that they will be doing their own follow-up, showcasing this project as a whole, and more importantly, show its size and scope that was purposely built to house 1,440 Sprout AI units.
Yeah, absolutely. They are planning to do their own marketing piece where they're going to do an interview there. So I look very forward to being able to show that on our social medias as well. So lots of great things coming down the pipeline there. Now, I wanted to also talk about some of the press releases that we have done this week. So on Thursday, we released a press release about the changing of our year end. I thought that maybe you could shed a little bit more light on why we did that and why it is so important for our investors.
Yeah, absolutely. We, of course, became public 6 months ago through an RTO. Which had 2 companies with 2 different year ends. As you read the Q2 and Q3 quarterly statements, the unaudited statements, we effectively had 2 year ends that we were trying to line up. The purpose of shifting out to the end of February served 2 very important purposes. One is to allow us to line up our year ends properly with our other companies, to give our auditor time to be able to get the audits completed. And that's been a real struggle, especially in Canada, with the auditors being so overburdened with the work that they have and the timing of what we had before. So this is a good thing, and it will help us certainly in long term be able to get well ahead of these audits in future, and more importantly, give the auditor at least the breadth in the time that they need to do these, given all their other workloads.
Yeah, I see a lot of public companies have actually had to begin shifting their end of year directly because the auditors have just not been able to keep up with that workload. And obviously, as we know, COVID has had a very big impact on that. So that's very good. What I think would be a really great way for us to close out is for us to talk about this morning's press release. We hit another major milestone. So why don't you talk about the importance of that?
Right. So, every year, we start with a GOSPA. This is our 2021 GOSPA. And of course, we have a 2022 GOSPA that was just approved by our C-level team. What that is goal, objectives, strategy, plans, and actions. And in 2021, we very much wanted to show that we would go public, which we did 6 months ago on the CSE. And one of our objectives as well was to be able to start the process of cross-listing as we plan fully to be operational on 4 continents. So with that said, cross-listings and the steps and the procedures how to do that, we wanted to demonstrate our capability. So I'm happy to announce today that we are trading on the OTCQB in the United States. We've cross-listed onto the United States. Our call symbol there is very similar to Canada. BYFM, but it ends with one more letter, F. F as in foreign. So we're a foreign company that's been approved for trading in the United States on the OTC board. So we're not stopping, of course. We showcase we've done it, but as we have it in our 2022 plan, as we expand into our 4 continents, that we will continue to look to other cross-listing opportunities. And as that comes to fruition, obviously, we'll be reporting that to the public.
Well, wonderful. Congratulations to you and the team. I know how much of a feat that has been, so I'm really happy that you guys were able to get that done. Now, I want to close off today by reminding our investors that if you haven't already, do follow us on our social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. On all of those platforms, you will see that we've been highlighting our key employees and resources within the company and getting you to be able to get to know who they are and what it is that they do with the company. So I definitely encourage you to be able to see that because it will help you understand who's a key person in the company.
Absolutely. Thank you, Colleen. As always, a pleasure. Looking forward to next week. And I would also let the viewers know that because we have been getting so many questions, this industry is moving so fast. What can we anticipate? Are there other things that we can read, put our hands on, look at? We will be doing shorter segments on education and help shine some light on materials and other tools, so to speak, to help you better understand where is this new exciting industry going? Why is it so disruptive? What are our predictions for 2022 and beyond? And where do we fit in all of this? So stay tuned. Always stay tuned.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Have a great weekend. Okay, ciao, ciao.
Bye.